Okay, so welcome again, everybody. My name is Dawn LeBeau. I'm with Akiptan. I'm the Senior Programs Officer, and I also have Sarah Puckett from our loan team who will be presenting on balance sheets, or excuse me, cash flow sheets today. Okay. Our mission here at Akiptan is to transform native agriculture by delivering creative capital, leading paradigm changes, and enhancing producer prosperity across Indian country. Akiptan is the Lakota word for working together in a cooperative effort, and that's reflected in our lending philosophy. CDFIs are like banks in the sense that we provide lending. However, you cannot deposit money. We're a little different than banks because we do a lot of TA or technical assistance, and that comes in the form of business and goal planning, succession planning, financial literacy training, and any other resources that our producers need to be successful in their operation. There are laws that we have to follow, but because we're unregulated, it allows for us to be flexible and innovative in our style of lending, and we'll go through that here in the next few slides. Okay, our updated numbers here since inception of 2019 when we were formed, we have reached 29 tribal nations. We have deployed 40 million in loan capital and have completed 567 agriculture loans. Our products and services include a youth loan, a general loan, an operating loan and a line of credit, and a land mortgage and down payment assistance program. To be eligible for our services, you simply must be involved in the native agriculture field. So it's anything on the food chain from initial production to retail. That can include farming, ranching, fishing, timber, retail, and every one of our products is also tailored with the TA and then financial literacy. So we'll go through all of these products very briefly here. So our first product is our youth loan. We believe that investing in the youth is a step in food security and food sovereignty, and supporting the future generations is very important to us. So we make sure that youth are included in all of our programming and services. For the youth loan, those ages 10 to 12 can apply for up to $5,000. Ages 13 to 15 can apply to up to $7,500, and ages 16 to 18 can apply for up to $10,000. This product works well with 4-H animals. It can be used for any type of native ag business. It can be paired with an FSA loan, and it has the up to 12 years of repayment option. It's paired with our online youth financial literacy, which is available on our website. Then we have our general loan. This loan was created to fill all the gaps that producers might have at their operation. Eligibility includes must be 18 years or older. This has a 12-year repayment option, and you can apply for up to $250,000. It can be used for equipment, infrastructure, value-added operations, transportation, livestock, or you can refinance any current debt. Again, this is paired with TA. And we also have our financial literacy curriculum for this one as well. And then we have our operating and line of credit. We know that producers have short-term needs, and we're happy to help fill that gap as well. We compare an operating line with our general loan for some full circle servicing. Here's the eligibility, 18 years of age. You have the up to 12 months repayment option, and you can apply for up to $250,000. And then same with this, it's still paired with TA and financial literacy. And then our fourth product is our land mortgage down payment assistance program. So we understand that land can be a complicated issue in Indian country. We're ready to help solve the access to land issues, whether that's around trust or fee land. You must be 18 years of age or older. Up to 30 years of repayment option is on this one, and you can apply for up to $250,000. So this can be used for consolidating interest, purchasing a piece of land to operate on, or purchasing a land and building combo. Okay, so let's briefly go over our repayment style. So we have two different repayment options, and they go hand in hand with our patient capital lending philosophy, which basically means that we see our partners or our clients as our partners, and we're here to help them be successful in their operation. Our first repayment option is our traditional repayment option. It's a blended repayment from the start. You get longer terms than what you would see at a typical bank, and this is great for equipment, infrastructure, and people who are already at their maximum capacity. And we'll see just a brief snapshot of what this schedule could look like. Okay, and then this is our interest-only repayment option. This is our most unique product. This has 5 years of interest-only payment, and then it switches to principal and interest after that 5 years. Um, it allows the producer to reinvest those profits back into their operation. It's designed to help producers grow their balance sheet, and it's great for livestock and people who want that large upfront capacity growth. So this is why we are unique and innovative, and it speaks to our lending model. And here's the example. You see the interest only period here, and then when it switches to the interest and principal here. Okay, so our loan process includes 4 different steps, starting with discovery and intake. This is where you'll meet with our loan administrator, complete the intake form, submit any documents that you might need with that, and then move to our technical assistance and application completion with a loan officer and go over your business plan. If you are approved, you go to review and closing. However, if you are not approved, our loan officers don't just give like you are not approved and it stops there. They visit with you about where your application could use additional details, and they really do their best to try to get you to a yes. Um, and if you were approved, review and closing happens. They do the dispersal, and it doesn't end there. We do a lot of the TA, which is included in the aftercare. So you get one quarterly meeting with your loan officer just to check in, and it's very informal. They want to make sure that you're getting all the resources that you need, that you're aware of any of our new initiatives and programs, and also that you are following your business plan. Okay, so that's everything Akiptan, and I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Sarah. And we're starting out with a question where you can use the chat box. So Sarah, I'll go ahead and pass it to you.
Thanks for the intro there, Dawn. As she said in the beginning of the webinar, I'm Sarah Puckett. I'm a loan officer here with Akiptan. And then hopefully you were able to join our balance sheet webinar last week. This kind of builds off of the other set of financials that's really common to have our producers fill out during the loan process. This is the cash flow sheets. So on a scale of 1 to 5, what would you rate your knowledge of a cash flow sheet prior to this webinar? We're just trying to kind of gauge where everyone's at for the start here. And then 1 would be limited, and then 5 would be expert. That's your range there. So 1 in the chat. A couple more. Here we go. Some 3s, 4s, a 1. Okay, so we're pretty spread out. That's great. Awesome. Try and cover everything here, and at least if we can't get you to a 5, we'll at least get you improved from where we started. So what is the cattle operation growth chart? I'm sorry, is this one of the wrong slides, or is this? You are muted, Dawn.
Yeah, it is. Bear with us, guys. Sorry. Let's see here.
Okay, I think it's the correct slide. It's just the wrong title. We have worked on a couple of webinars lately, so bear with us as we try and figure out what we've pieced together lately. I believe this should say, what is a cash flow? I think it's just the title that's wrong. So
I'm gonna
the
fix
cash
that
flow
in real
is the
time.
financial statement that shows the cash inflows and outflows of a business over a given period of time. So where cash comes from when it's brought into the operation, where it goes, what it pays for. It provides a picture of what's happening with your operations cash during a specific period, and it shows your operations ability to operate in the short and long term. It basically shows where your money is coming from, where it's going, and if the money you are receiving is more than what you're spending. All right, this is what a condensed cash flow looks like. They come in many, many forms. This is just a really, really simple version of it. It's going to start with your total operating income and then your total operating expenses, your net operating income from that. So your operating income will minus your expenses. That will leave you with your net operating. Then it comes to your non-operating expenses, which is everything that's not necessarily directly farm related. So that's your owner withdrawal or living expenses, your non-farm debt payments, which are personal debts, income tax income. So like your refunds for your personal tax returns, things like that. And then any non-farm income, which would be any contract labor or employment. And then it goes into your payments that need to be made, the capital expenditures that need to be paid, and the ending cash on hand, which hopefully is a positive number. That's the goal for these cash flow statements. All right, here's just another version of what a cash flow projection can look like. This one breaks down all the operating expenses, just gives you a little more detailed picture of what you're spending your money on. But they do tell you the same thing. Essentially, there's just lots of different ways you can have things represented. So, all right, so operating income versus non-operating income. Operating income is money being made from the ranch or farm's direct activities. So examples of this are livestock sales, crop sales, custom farming, anything that's coming like from the farm or ranch itself. Non-operating income is money being made from sources outside the ranch or farm. So examples of this are W-2 wages if you have a town job, if your wife has a town job, passive income like rental properties that you may own, beadwork sales, agritourism, things like that, that aren't necessarily from the ranch and farm activities itself, but still contribute to you being able to do the operation. All right, so here's just kind of a visual example of operating and non-operating income on a cash flow sheet. So the operating income that we see most often is beginning cash on hand, which is any bank accounts or really highly liquid assets that are going to be brought into the fiscal year for the farmer ranch, market livestock, prepaid expenses, current year livestock and poultry sales, crop sales, ag program payments. This could also include insurance payments, custom hire income, and then anything else that's related to the farmer ranch. And then non-operating is going to be, like we said, those income taxes if you get returns each year, and then non-farm income, which is those W-2s and off-farm income examples we gave earlier. Any question on operating and non-operating income at this point? Feel free to just put things in the chat too. We always look at that and we can pause and address those. So if you have any of those, just type them in. All right, I think we're ready, Dawn. All right, operating and non-operating expenses. Oh, we do have a question. Would this include fertilizer for your crops? Um, so are you paying for the fertilizer or are you selling fertilizer? Because that's the really big question there. If you are paying for it, then it's going to be an expense, and that's going to be the operating and non-operating expenses that we are going to go through on this slide. If you are selling it, then it would be an operating income. You are paying, yep. So that'll be an operating expense because it's very directly related to your farm business, but it's not making you money. It's going to be an expense for that. So that leads into operating expenses, which are dollars being spent on items directly related to running the ranch or farm operation. No selling, it's paying for alfalfa. You might have to reword your question there. I guess I'm not following. unless someone else is interpreting that differently. If it's just you paying for fertilizer to put onto alfalfa that you then sell, it's still an expense. But if I'm interpreting that wrong, please keep chatting and let me know. Okay. But yeah, operating dollars being spent on items directly related to running the ranch or farm operation. Examples would be like the fertilizer that was brought up in the chat, livestock feed, seed for crops, utilities, land leases, if you're running cattle and you need pasture, things like that. Non-operating expenses are dollars being spent on items not directly related to running the ranch or farm operation. So this would be living expenses, personal debt payments, anything else. Anything that's not directly being put into something that's going to be utilized by your farm or ranch. All right, I think we have a visual example of that coming up. Perfect. Okay. So as we saw in the second example of a cash flow, all the operating expenses are broken out into the categories. Usually they're broken out into the categories that you're going to see on your taxes, but they can be broken out as detailed or as broad as you want them to be. Generally with livestock operations, we see car and truck, conservation, custom hire, basically the whole list you see here. Um, and then if you have anything other that you need specifically for your operation, you just generally add it in. And then non-operating is going to be owner withdrawal, again, which is called living expenses, and then non-farm debt payments. So any personal debt that you carry, like credit cards or vehicle loans, things like that. Where would we put your house mortgage? So if it's paid, house mortgages are tricky. Thank you for that question, Dawn. Um, it depends on what is paying it, I guess. If your ranch or farm is directly paying your mortgage through your cattle sales each year, and it's essentially used as like a home base operation point for your farm or ranch, then sometimes people consider it to be an operating expense and they put it with their term loan payments that are covered by the farm and ranch. If it's paid with your W-2 income or another source of income, and it's not necessarily considered part of the farm and ranch, it's just your residence, nothing more, that's generally going to fall into non-farm debt payments. So that's just going to fall into the personal debt section. All right. Any questions on the expenses? And then I don't want to butcher your name. I'm so sorry. Is it Willayan? Did you end up getting your fertilizer question answered with the expenses? No response. So I'm going to take no response as a good response so we can head on to the next slide here, Dawn. And then here's just kind of an all pieced together look at what the cash flow is going to look like. This is what ours looks like. Again, they can all look different. They can have more years of projections. They can have just the current year. But they're all basically going to tell the same story, which is at the very beginning, it's income coming into the operation, breakdown of your operating expenses, which is money going out of the operation, and then your non-operating expenses, again, money coming out, and then any term loan payments or operating interest that's paid. So that's like your cost of financing. It should leave you at the very, very end with an ending cash on hand, um, which is hopefully, again, going to be positive. That's the idea. All right. There's not much to the cash flows as far as like really breaking it down further than that. We do have a cash flow projection template that I'm going to go over here in a minute, just to kind of show you guys like a working version of that. But if you have any questions on like the theory behind the cash flow and what we went over, please let me know now, and then we can go into some real examples and use some examples that you guys might be running into, and I can show you where those go on these sheets. right, no questions yet. I'm going to start screen sharing here and I'll show you guys the cash flow template worksheet that we send out to a lot of our producers. Um, You can do this at any time. You can do your cash flow, like we said with the balance sheets. There's no right or wrong time frame to do this. We do require it when you get financing or when you apply for financing, but it's not something that you can't do on a regular basis. You can always do this and just see what your operation is looking like cash flow wise at any point in time. I thought I saw a chat notification, Dawn, and it's not letting me click on it. Oh, wait, here we are.
Nope, that was
Oh, that
just
was
me
just you.
putting the template in there so that they had it.
Perfect. Okay. So on this, you should see an Excel sheet that says cash flow basics. The first page of this is just the instructions that kind of breaks down what goes where, which is kind of what we've already covered. So if you do this template, you can kind of re-up on the instructions, but that's not the page that you fill out. The first page you're going to go to in what I would recommend would be the on-farm income and expenses. And this is where you're going to fill out where you think you're going to be getting income sources for the year. So let's say you're a cattle rancher and your main income source is calf sales in 2026. You think you're going to have, ooh, that was the wrong button here. If you think you're going to have $50,000 of calf sales and then maybe $3,000 of coal sales if you're getting rid of an older cow or two. Um, that's where you're going to put those income sources. And then you're going to look at your feed supplement, feed and grain, things like repairs and maintenance, and enter all of those projections in there. We can just kind of do some dummy numbers if you guys don't have any questions on any of those or specific expenses or income that you want to see put in. So once again, we monitor the chat, so just shoot things out if you want to see them put on here. So then we can roughly estimate like 5,000 for feed and grain. These are not numbers that are going to relate to anything. This is just me putting numbers in to kind of show you guys where they show up on the cash flow. So we'll just put in a couple of expenses there. And then you'll come over to off-farm income and expenses, and this is where you're going to put in things like if you have a town job or if your wife has a town job and you file taxes together, and so you're going to be applying together, you would put that here. So let's say your spouse makes 20,000. Together, your living expenses are 30,000 if you have a kid or two. And then you have other payments, off-farm debts of 12,000 a year. Um, that's just where you put in essentially any income coming in and out of your household that's not farm related. And then on this cash flow sheet, when we come back to it, it's going to have everything set together that we already entered. So it's going to show all of those that we entered there, saying that we're ending $24,500 higher than we started the year. So that is, like we said, that's the goal, is to have that be a positive number at the end of the day. It's also, I mean, it's not a bad thing if you find out that that number is negative. That gives you a starting point of reevaluating your finances. Um, so even if it's not a positive number the first time you do it, it's still a helpful tool. So it kind of shows you where money's coming in, where it's leaving, and where some tweaks can be made to make that ending number positive eventually. Can I fill out some other years as well to see some variation? Yes. Um, so we can go through here and we can say on income, hopefully let's say we add a couple cows to the herd in 2026 and they start producing more calves for us in 27. So we're looking at $70,000 of calf sales in 2027, maybe 5,000 of coal sales because a bigger herd means we're maybe able to get rid of one or two more cows per year as they age out, which means that our feed bill is going to go up a bit. So let's say it's $7,000 now. We ended up having to get a hired hired help on a, like maybe once or twice a month basis to help with some things. So that's going to be $1,000 a year there. Repairs and maintenance stayed roughly the same for us, but vet and breeding went up a little because we have more cows. And then we just have to do the same thing of I think my wife's going to get a raise maybe on her job, so we'll fill out 25,000 for 27. But even though she got a raise, our living expenses aren't necessarily going to go up, and we actually paid off some things, so we only have $8,000 of personal debt for 2027. When we go back over to the main cash flow, then these two columns now are going to have the information that we've entered, and it just kind of gives us a gauge of what we think is going to happen, not just this year, but the next year as well. And it shows that this year we are doing great, but next year we are doing better. And same thing is if you unexpectedly have, we thought 2027 was going to be great, but then we unexpectedly had huge repairs and maintenance on our tractor, and we ended up having to do a $20,000 overhaul on a tractor motor. That'll represent there too, and it'll show even if we have $20,000 of unexpected repairs, we're still able to make things work in 2027. Or if it were to be negative, then we can look at what we need to do to make up that deficit. So it's a really good way to gauge right now and in the future and kind of see what you can do now to save money for potential emergencies for funding in the future, or if things are tight now, how to get it to where the future is a little more flexible with the cash flow. How often should you update your cash flow sheet? Um, I would say at least once a year, same thing as I say with the balance sheet. When you're doing all of your um, like end of year kind of gathering all your tax documents together, putting together all your income and expenses for your taxes anyways, I would recommend just putting together a new balance sheet and cash flow then because all of your documents are there. And it's a really good tool to kind of see how the year went and what the next year might look like. And then also, if you're going to be applying for any kind of credit, any loans, that's when you're going to want to do one as well. But it's not like you have to do it only once a year or when you're getting financing. If anything changes, again, like if you were projecting a really good year and then all of a sudden you have a huge change in your repairs and maintenance, you have the tractor overhaul that you need to do, you can always create one then and just see like, okay, with this large change that we didn't see coming, are we still doing well? Is there things we need to change for the rest of the year to cover what we didn't expect? Things like that. So there's no right or wrong answer for how often you should. But like I said, I recommend at least once a year, and then obviously when you're trying to get financing. Any other questions? We have some quiet folks today. Ask any and all questions. There's no question that we won't try to answer for you, if we can at least.
Hey Sarah, can you go back to the instructions again and just kind of do like a
Yeah.
nice little summary of that? I know
Yeah,
for
so the
some
instructions
people,
essentially, oh, yep, sorry about that. What?
nope, all good. I was just gonna say, like, sometimes, when you are just starting off with Excel, this can look a little overwhelming, but these instructions here are really thorough and nice, so that's why I mentioned it.
Yeah, yep. So now that you've been on this webinar, and you've seen me kind of work the template, it should be pretty simple. But if you need a refresher, absolutely go to the instruction sheet, read it over. It'll tell you kind of where things need to be put and where they come from, if it's an on or off farm, and kind of how to decide if it is an on or an off farm expense or income. It's very nice. Like I said, it's not where you put numbers. This is just kind of the information, and then you use that information to fill out the last two sheets. And then, like we said, the cash flow tab just kind of fills itself out from the information that you put in on the expense and the income tabs that are after that. But yeah, very good information on this front sheet here. And if you ever have to do the balance sheet one, it also is set up the exact same way. Instructions are on the very first page, and then it has the assets and the liabilities tabs that you fill out, and the balance sheet fills itself out in case you missed that webinar as well. They're filled out or they're set up very similarly. No other questions so far. I will stop sharing here. And like Dawn said, the link for that is in the chat if you guys want the link to the template at all. And if you don't mind, we love immediate feedback. So on a scale of 1 to 5, same question that we went over at the very beginning, what would you rate your knowledge of a cash flow sheet as from 1 to 5? We have a couple threes that are now fours, and I don't see any ones. So hopefully if you don't feel like an expert yet, hopefully at least you have a little more confidence in the information and the ability to apply it to your operation. Craig's an expert now. Good to see you, Craig. Looks like we still have one left. Is there any questions that we can answer for you um, to help with any of the cash flow knowledge or any gaps in the knowledge or anything there? I'm still not seeing any follow-up questions. So again, there's no question we won't try and answer for you. Or if you want to reach out later with some more in-depth questions about your operation in particular, we can absolutely answer those later as well. If you don't want to answer or ask them in a group setting, we are always here for those. You have the resource links here, the online cash flow sheet that we have in the link that in the chat as well. That QR code takes you to the same thing. And then in our Rancher worksheet or our Rancher booklet, the worksheet for cash flow is going to be pages 29 through 34, and that's that second QR code there. All right, if there's no other questions directly on the cash flows, I'll turn it back over to Dawn and she can kind of go over some of the other resources that we have available for you.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. I always appreciate the walkthrough and like moving numbers around in there and things like that. I know a lot of previous participants appreciated that as well. So thank you so much, Sarah. Yep, so here's the resources, and then I'm just gonna walk through a couple closeout things so you guys know what else we got going on here and things we mentioned. But we do offer a feedback survey. We want to know how we did. We want to know what are some other webinars that you guys would like for us to build out around your operation financials for your business. And so you're welcome to fill this out. It takes only a couple minutes and it helps us in the long run. So we are getting ready to do our 2026 webinar lineup. And so if you have any feedback on things that you want to see, please let us know. We Always look through these, and a lot of the things that we've developed from start to now have been because of these feedback surveys. So thank you guys so much for that. Go ahead and scan this. I put the link in the chat too. I'll give you guys just a second to go ahead and grab this off the screen if you'd like. The other thing that we do with this is if you complete this within the next 5 days, we draw a name and we send out some really cool Akiptan swag. So that could be organizer folders or um, hats and gloves and fun things like that. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and move on from here. So these are the curriculums that we have been referencing. This is our financial management guide for cattle ranchers, and this is where you're going to see some of the templates that Sarah had gone over today. We can also mail these out to you, but they are available on our website, and you can type your information into the curriculums. So we have the cattle rancher one, and then we have the introducing native agriculture, a guide for young entrepreneurs. This also has a lot of financial information pieces in it. And then we have our financial management guide for native agribusinesses. And so this is for folks that are doing value added or gardening or trucking. It includes a lot of different pieces for marketing and communications too. So you're welcome to look these up online as well. And if you would like a physical copy, put your name in the chat and I will make sure and get those mailed out to you. Okay. Other booklets that we have available is our succession planning guide. This is something that our producers had asked for in our market study. And so we created this tool guide so that you guys can have information at your fingertips so you can prepare for the future of your operation. And then we have our rancher record keeping book as well. So you have a one-stop shop for everything from your annual records to different testing that you do. These as well can be mailed out, but they're also online. Okay, I will go ahead and leave this scan code up here, and I see somebody does would like the book, so I will send you an email and get your information so we can get these mailed out to you. Okay, so we are closing out our year of webinars. Next week on the 25th, we have agriculture growth and trends for your cattle operation. We will go through another template that we have, and Sarah will be leading that as well. So 12 p.m. next week, you're welcome to register by scanning this code. And then in December, we're going to hear from the field. We'll have some voices of agriculture, and we'll hear from Justine Kogel, who has a beef operation and some value added stuff in Montana. So please join us for that as well. It'll be more like a conversational webinar with some information. So we're looking forward to that as well. And that closes out our year for webinars. But all of these recordings are on our website. So if you want to go back and see what the cattle market was when we did our presentation on that back in April, that's online. If you missed our webinar with Mr. Rob Holcomb, who went over general tax things for agriculture, that's on our website as well. If you want to go back and reference the balance sheet one, that's on there too. So, and then, of course, we have a lot of free financial information on our website. We have links to different partners and folks that are doing ag work on there as well. So take a moment to check that out. You might find something of value for your operation. Okay, a couple more slides here, guys. You're welcome to sign up for our newsletter. This is where we talk about all the cool things our producers are doing, or any of our initiatives like youth programming or our webinars, or cool things that we're doing out in the field as part of Akiptan. There's a lot of moving pieces, so you can sign up for our e-newsletter here. We also mail out these fun written copies as well. Okay, I do see a question in the chat, and I don't want to overlook anything because we do have time. I'm going to go to the next slide in case you guys want to reach out to us. This is our contact information, and then we'll hop back over to the chat because there's a couple questions. Sarah might need you for a couple of these. Let me read them out loud. What is the interest rate to pay back? Yep, that's a Sarah question. You know the updated interest rate at this point.
Yep, our interest rate currently is 3.7% on the blended. And then if you're trying to do the interest only repayment period, I believe that's 6.2 right now. Um, but yeah, 3.7 is for the blended. And then our interest rates do change on a quarterly basis, just depending on other like outside factors. I've never seen them change more than like 0.2%. But they do go up and down a little, but right now they're currently sitting at 3.7.
Good questions. And then I also put the link to sign up for the newsletter in the chat. So that way you can click on that when you have a minute, and then it's just on your phone and you can sign up when you have a moment. Okay, guys, if there are no other questions, that concludes the webinar today, but this is our information. Sarah, myself, and our team are always happy to answer any questions that you have. You can email us at info@akiptan.org, or you can give us a call at 605-301-0581, and we'll answer your questions in real time as well. So I will get to getting those booklets out, and we hope to see you guys next week on our next webinar. Sarah and I will hang out here for a little bit in case some of you want to stay on and ask questions. But other than that, thanks so much for your time and thanks for joining us today.